Into the forecourt of the palace and through the gates comes the gilded coach, 2 centuries old, bearing the young queen to her crown.
The moment the Queen died, Charles became king, but a lot of people are asking, when will the coronation happen? Now, traditionally there is a substantial period of mourning for the late monarch. In the Queen's case, it was a 16-month wait until she went to her coronation. And partly the reason was that as a young new Queen, she was 25, the Prime Minister at the time, Winston Churchill, felt that she needed some time to get used to the role. It's also preferable that the coronation is held in summer, so there's an ever better chance of good weather. So what we're likely to see is a coronation sometime between May and September of next year. Now, we already know that Charles's plans for this coronation is that it should be shorter, it should be simpler, and it should be streamlined, much smaller. 2,000 people to attend rather than the 8,000 that represented 129 different countries at Elizabeth's coronation.
It is the moment of the anointing, the hallowing, a moment so old, history can scarcely go deep enough to contain it.
Pretty much it happens as it always has done. The new monarch is blessed and consecrated, anointed with the oil. Of course, we didn't see that part of the ceremony televised back in 1953 when the Queen was enthroned, and the reason being that it was believed that this was such a sacred part of the ceremony that the public shouldn't see it. It will be interesting to see what happens when Prince Charles goes through this and whether or not they will allow television cameras in to capture that moment. While the coronation is clearly a Christian service, there's discussion that Charles will make sure that there are parts of that service that are inclusive of different faiths. It's something that while he is head of the Church of England, he's always been very interested in and open to other faiths. We will of course see the Imperial crown, which is currently on the late Queen's coffin. This crown dates back to the 15th century. There's been multiple iterations of it. The last one, of course, was made in 1937, and it was made smaller for the Queen when she went to her coronation.
You see, it's much smaller, isn't it? I mean, it was the same height. You know, it would have been up to about there when my father wore it.
I mean, it was huge then.
Yes, very unwieldy.
It's difficult to always remember that diamonds are stones, so they're very heavy.
Yes. Fortunately, my father and I have about the same sort of shaped head. Mm. But once you put it on, it stays. I mean, it just remains itself.
You have to keep your head very still.
Yes. And you can't look down to read the speech. You have to take the speech up. Because if you did, your neck would break, or it would fall off. So there are some disadvantages to crowns, but otherwise they're quite important things.
That main crown, the St Edward's crown, which is the crown that is put on the monarch's head at the moment of coronation, we will only see very occasionally, and it weighs a couple of kilograms. That crown will be put on Charles's head, but to walk out of the Abbey, it will be exchanged for the Imperial crown. It weighs about 1 kilo, so half the weight.
But is it still as heavy? Yes, it is. It weighs a ton. It's very solid, isn't it?
Ma'am, I don't suppose you've seen it much.
No, I haven't.
Since the
Thank goodness. And it is impossible to tell which is front and back, I suppose. It's identical, I think.
Both of these crowns are festooned with all manner of gems. There's nearly 3,000 diamonds, 2,800 diamonds on the Imperial crown. There's 4 rubies, and of course that is the crown that is used for the state opening of Parliament. we saw earlier this year when the Queen wasn't able to attend that event, that the crown was placed there on a seat to represent her absence. But that St Edward's crown, the last time we saw that was 1953. So this coronation will be a return to some of those things we haven't seen for 7 decades.
Crown you with a crown of glory and righteousness, that having a right faith and manifold fruit of good works, you may obtain the crown of an everlasting kingdom.
I imagine your principal memory is wearing it, man.
And how heavy and unbalanced it was.
One wonders whether it had a special frame beneath it to fit Your Majesty's head.
I think it must have done.
Other pieces from the crown jewels which will be included in the coronation include the orb. Now this is a 30 centimetre wide orb, but it's placed into the monarch's right hand. It actually dates back to 1661 and the coronation of Charles II. So there is that synchronicity there with now Charles III. It is an orb topped with a cross, and it's supposed to symbolise God's dominion over the world. It will be given to Charles by the Archbishop of Canterbury, and he will carry it out of the church in his right hand. The sovereign sceptre is one of 2 used during the coronation. The one that will be given to Charles is 92 centimetres long. It actually has the world's largest diamond at the top of it, encased in a heart shape made with gold. There's blue enamel, there's multiple other gemstones on this sceptre, and of course while the orb represents God's dominion, the sceptre is it's a symbol of good governance for the new monarch, that they will rule and lead their people wisely. Most of the time these are kept in the Tower of London, where people can go and visit them. They're only brought out for rare occasions, but of course their symbolism and their significance will once again be on show next year.
It's a sort of pageant of chivalry and old-fashioned way of doing things, I think, really. But it's quite interesting to have it, you know, done again. I mean, I've seen one coronation and been the recipient in the other, which is pretty remarkable.